Alrighty, well, I've pretty much finished all the heat shielding there. Bit of corrugated iron there, it's got a screw on the bottom. I wanted to get a second one in, but I sort of couldn't, but it doesn't matter, it's held fairly well against a bracket that actually holds that bottom stud. Another screw up there. I'll show you how I do this heat shielding. This one, it's could have been a little bit better. But it's not too bad all the same. We've got a bit of standoff heat there. It's actually just a bit of bent corrugated iron. So that's left enough of a gap there anyway. And this little banger here, now this is made fairly intelligently. There's me a bit of wire that holds it. What I actually done was I drilled a hole in first and then cut in with the tin snips and slipped it up through the hole. Then I cut these slots and I bend these in and then flat again. And same with that one there, in and then flat again. And that gives you a bit of standoff clearance. As you can see, I've got about, what is it, 5/8 of an inch, 3/4 something. But then I was also smart enough to bend this whole thing beforehand and make sure that where these screws were going to end up was going to allow there to be a, 1.5 inch gap right there. So, and actually more like a 3-inch gap on the bottom. So yeah, that sort of worked out quite well. Don't know if I'll worry too much about this. That's reasonably close there. Ooh, actually very close. I didn't realise how close that was. Yeah, probably a little bit too close. But anyway, it doesn't sort of matter because this takes the brunt and then it's stood off from this. And so, you got that ventilation that runs up the back. And because this is such thin sheet metal, it effectively radiates heat off like a flaming radiator because it's so thin. And then as a result of being so thin, very little actually ends up transferring into the screw and ultimately into the wood. And then even then, when you have a screw that's getting hot or something that's getting hot in wood, what will happen is the wood will sweat sap first, and it'll do that quite a bit before it ever actually goes to charcoal or gets to any sort of, burn marks or anything like that. But anyway, it is indeed raining. Just lightly again, you can see all the drips. I'm probably going to make a ring up that goes around here that I'll tie at the top with the wire, but I've got to really cut it perfectly to the shape of this, which isn't that great. We've got a seam on the bottom, but that'll cause any water that comes off of here and gets onto there to drip off here before it gets right in. I do realise that is very close there, but I really wanted this to go outside so this wouldn't catch water and run back inside. So that's why that's sort of facing that way. And the trouble is, this angle's going this way and that angle's going that way. So you're going to have a point where they come very close to each other because it's effectively a downwards V to cause any water to drain out and an upwards V to cause, heat convection to draw the smoke out. I noticed when I open the door of this, it does throw a bit of smoke at me. And as soon as you close the door, bang, it keeps pouring out through the end here. But like I said before, I'm fairly certain I'm going to end up with a smoke stain on the top of this roof because of the close proximity. You see I sort of cut it on the angle. That sort of helps stop getting water inside the thing. But that wouldn't be much of a problem because it's actually got a fairly decent curved capacity to hold water if it was to fill up. And what I'm more concerned about is rain coming in, running underneath the bottom of this and then dribbling all over the floor or whatever. Anyway, that's me little fandangle there.